Howdy, and welcome to the Feed Bandit Podcast, where we talk all things hunting and introduce you to the most innovative hunting gear and services. Here are your hosts, Jimmy Byrne and Richard Kinchlow. Well, howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Feed Bandit Podcast. With you again, Jimmy here, along with Richard. How you doing?
I'm good. Good. Glad to be back. Did you know we actually took a week off? I don't even think you know.
We did. Yeah. Well, I was going to say maybe we gave our suffering listeners a week off, for Thanksgiving, So
yes.
But we're back in the saddle now this week.
Yep.
Get back to talking some hunting,
Yep.
Speaking of Thanksgiving, old Corn Bandit here, you had a pretty successful trip over at Rancho Bandito.
Oh my gosh. It was great. Yeah. Hey, don't you know, we saw lots of ducks and lots of deer. It was so much fun. For a split second there, I felt like I didn't have a job. I just hope my boss is not listening, but my real boss. But we ended up going down on Monday. I guess the Monday of Thanksgiving. So I did not make the evening hunt. We ended up leaving Dallas at, I think, like 7:00, and yet I still saw tail lights up in front of my face and through Dallas. I'm like, what is wrong with this picture? Mm-hmm. Why is it that we are stuck in traffic? Of course, we hit the major freeway, and then it was adios. So, but yeah, traffic in Dallas sucks still, even on a Monday at 7:00. But Tuesday morning started off with a bang. I was committed to getting up early. And that is the one thing about having little kids is that they kind of train you, to wake up early. I remember back in the college days. Of course, I'd also drink a gallon of whiskey too, but it was
make it a little harder.
Tough. Oh yeah, God, it was so tough to get up, but much easier this day and age. So I told myself that this Thanksgiving I was going to try to hunt outside of the box. Like go to some places that I typically don't go to just because they're a little bit tougher to get there. And then, like most humans, I'm lazy. So the great thing is that there were a lot of ducks in town, which is everybody knows I'm a duck head. And what was really nice is that the weather was cool. I mean, the high I think was in the 60s, the lows were in the 40s. So it was definitely tolerable. And we had a major snow system out to the west and the north and the east. I mean, literally everywhere. It was all in the square states, and it was kind of moving its way. So it pushed a lot of those ducks back down towards us in Texas. So
perfect timing.
Oh man, it was awesome. It never works out that way, of course. So the fourth morning, I ended up going to the frac tank, which, as everybody knows, if you're a faithful listener to the podcast, that is where we do all of our dove hunting. So the frac tank is not a very big tank at all. It's got a very heavy clay bottom. That is important. We'll come back to that in a little bit. It's always had ducks. I mean, early teal season, we see a lot of blue-winged teal, and during the super late dove season, we always see ducks on it, especially a lot of puddle ducks. So again, the puddle ducks prefer, I think, your shallower water, not so big wash. They love these stock tanks. So puddle ducks, gadwalls, widgeons, mallards, teal. I think that's technically about it.
Now, why do they like the shallow water?
Well, because they love to get up there in the shallows and eat all the aquatic vegetation there, duckweed and all that kind of stuff. Whereas the divers prefer to eat some of them eat aquatic clams and stuff like that. So they're literally out there kind of in the deep part, diving down, eating junk off the bottom. So. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of that's kind of the two classes of duck, if you will. So the smaller tanks are typically going to have more of the puddle ducks, whereas the big tanks, like the house tank on Rancho Bandito, is about 10 acres when it's full. You'll see a lot of divers there, and you'll have puddlers over in the shallow. So I ended up going the frac tank, and I ended up getting there plenty of time. It was cold. It was overcast. Now I hadn't been there since all the leaves have fallen off the mesquite trees that kind of crowd the tank. So I really wasn't sure. I had an idea where I was going to sit, but I knew I was going to do a lot of this in dark, which, by the way, kind of sucks. So I ended up putting about 12 decoys out there, and what I did was that the frag tank is kind of if you look at it from the air, it's kind of a square with rounded corners. Okay, so. And that's important to say it's rounded corners because I put my decoys kind of in that corner, right? And I probably just threw them about 10 yards offshore, and I didn't have my waders on, so that, if I needed to go out there and get them, I could, whatever. So that's how I kind of set up, and I have my bucket and I have my duck jack, and I literally just kind of nestled myself underneath the mesquite tree. Now, thinking that I would probably have to make a cut or two, I ended up bringing one of my little clipper packs that I got from the Sportsman's box, I believe, which is just coming so handy.
Explain what that is.
What's that? The Sportsman box?
Well, yeah, you can explain that. This clipper pack as well.
Oh yeah. So the clipper pack that I've got, and they're just. Basically, what it is, it's a small Velcro pack, and it's got a expandable saw in it, and then it's also got some little hand loppers, and it's just fantastic for I carry a set of them in my turkey pack, so while I'm out there turkey hunting, I can real quickly make a little cutout blind. Yep. I did the same thing in my Mac Daddy Caddy when I'm out dove hunting. If I need to move, I'm not going to grab a mesquite branch because it's full of thorns, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to use that little clipper pack. So I've got one in my Mac Daddy Caddy. I've got one in my turkey vest. And now I'm probably just going to keep one in my traveling duck gear, because it really came in handy. So I was able to make myself a little, a little shelter in there. And then the one thing you got to remember, mesquite thorns and duck jackets don't go along very well. Okay. So I kept, every time I'd move, I hear this, I'm like, oh God, ripping my jacket. I didn't, but
before you jump on though, you said you got it from the Sportsman's box.
Yes, I did.
Just do a quick mention about that one.
Oh yeah, the Sportsman's box.
Yeah,
so we had the Sportsman's box on. I guess it was, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 podcasts ago. Just a really, really, really cool box. And actually, for those wives, significant others, whatever, looking for a good Christmas gift for your husband or your daughter, whatever it may be, check out the Sportsman's box, because it basically is a box that comes to you every single month, and it's full of all kinds of hunting goodies. Now, but the cool thing is that they make it so that it's kind of customized to what you hunt, okay? For example, I don't hunt Rocky Mountain goats. I wish I did, but I don't. So I'm not going to get any gear that's specific to them, like portable oxygen tank, helicopter, things of that nature. I'm primarily white-tailed deer, duck, so I get stuff that's more geared towards that. But it's a lot of fun. Obviously my days of being really excited about getting gifts, okay, are obviously over, but every month it's kind of, I was telling, I think it's Adam, right?
Yeah,
Adam Whitehead. Yeah, I was telling Adam, it like lifts my spirits. I'm like, oh, dude, heck yeah, what do I got? And I'll tell you, this box that I got this past week, or this past month, was the best one I've ever had. Nice. Full of all kinds of goodies. So
very cool.
Give them the Sportsman's box a good look. And I always told Adam, there's a lot of stuff in there that I'd be like, do I really need this? I'm like, yeah, no, I could totally use it, but am I going to spend money on it? Well, now that it's given to me, guess what? I use the hell out of it.
Yeah, right.
So that's why I've always liked it. Yeah, so give them a look if you're looking for a Christmas gift, for sure. But
we talked to Adam Whitehead. He's founder of Sportsman's Box back on episode 36. So if folks want to go out there and check that one out, just definitely look it up. Episode 36.
Yep, that was fun. So yeah, okay. So shooting light finally comes. Again, it's overcast, which is great, because with the overcast, the ducks, I've always found don't really, well, obviously you can't see as well. They can't see as well, right? So even though you got this fat dude sitting on the edge of a tank, with it being overcast, they have a little hard time seeing. So the ducks, they just come right in. And again, one of the things I love hunting tanks like this is that the ducks don't have the ability to circle 8 billion times and then take their time coming in. Okay, that's how hunters get busted, I think, a lot of times. Because with a smaller tank, they can't sail in, they got to kind of hover in. And
kind of like a helicopter
that,
instead of
exactly.
a long runway.
Exactly. And that's exactly right. And you can really take advantage of that. And so I had, first group of ducks in were actually covered in white. I'm like, oh my God, what are we looking at here? Some sort of, new species. I'm running through my Rolodex of ducks in my head, and the first ducks on the water were actually some hooded mergansers, which if you want to see a pretty duck, go look them. They look like punk ducks. They've got this, they're small. They got this kind of pointy beak. They're divers. And they got this white mohawk. Okay. They just look tough as hell. Their call is ugly. It's like, meh. I mean, the good Lord made them pretty, but they're just like, please, just don't talk. You're terrible.
What are they called again?
They're called hooded mergansers.
Hey, hold on one second. Hey, folks, do you want to level up your hunting game and gear? If so, join the hunt to get killer hunting tips and tricks that'll help you out in the field. Text the word BANDIT to 345-345 right now. And when you do, you'll even get access to some exclusive deals on the hunting gear and services we discuss right here on this podcast. Again, text the word BANDIT to 345-345 right now and join the hunt. Mergansers.
Yeah, look them up. There's white. There's a white phase. So I had a bunch of them come in, and I didn't even take a shot at them because they're really not all that edible. I've shot some in the past and tried to eat them, and I ate them, but it was kind of like taking your cough medicine. It was rough. So they came in, and then shortly after them, I had a handful of widgeons and gadwalls come in, and boy, the gadwalls came right in my decoy. So I laid into them pretty good. So I ended up dropping two gadwalls, which was awesome, just right outside my spread. And I did not have my dog. Okay. And that's a good point. It's going to come up here a little bit later. So I did not have my dog. So I just kind of let him stay out there in the tank because I don't think that a dead duck really affects the other ducks. I think some people will disagree with me. I think that they probably look at it as another freaking decoy. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so I let them stay out there because I know that I've only got a finite amount of time before, everything goes crazy and I'm not going to see any birds. So had some more come in. This time sun was getting a little higher, even though it was still very cloudy, but they couldn't see. I think they could see me, so they were kind of over there in the edge of the water. So I ended up shooting two that day, and I just sat there and spent the rest of the morning just watching them and listening to them, and they were well out of range. But that I think that's an important little tip. If you've got the ability just to sit there and watch animals in their natural environment, you can learn a whole lot about them. And it was fun to watch I had some mallards come in, again, well out of range. And watch them kind of interacting with the hooded mergansers, and then with some teal that came in, and it was kind of funny to watch how they hung out. The mallards would hang out with the hooded mergansers, but then the teal and the gadwalls, they were walking up on the bank. I mean, just kind of, popping the sunscreen out and just making it a day. It was really kind of fun. So. Unfortunately, my bottom was so numb. It was to the point where, it was literally up, like down my spine, up my spine. I was like, dude, I got to move. I have to move. So I stand up really quick, and they're like, wah! And they're kind of looking at me like, oh God, we've been had, boys.
Run.
Yeah. And so the mallards, of course, being the king of spooky ducks, in my opinion, took off, and the other puddle ducks did too, but the mergansers just sat there. I'm like, dude, you're really pretty, man. You're going to end up on somebody's wall if you don't do something about that. So eventually they ended up flying off. But that evening, took my daughter Abby out looking for a hog. The hogs have just not shown up. In, I guess, the months we've been hunting, we've killed one hog, and that was you, Jimmy. And that was just by chance.
Right.
The hogs are still in the bush eating the acorns. It is, boy, again, double-edged sword. I always say that term, but it's so true. We've got so much natural forage out there. We just had an incredible acorn crop. I think the whole state did, actually. The hogs are out there, and the turkeys and the deer, they're all there. And so the feeder activity's been really slow. But we tried anyway. You never know. So the evening hunts, except for Wednesday before Thanksgiving, were pretty unproductive. So fast forward to Tuesday morning, I fresh off my gadwall kills, I said to myself, I'm going to hunt our main house tank this time. And I did that on purpose because, Thanksgiving morning, we'll have a bunch of people in the house, and I know there are a bunch of ducks in town, so I don't want to be shooting my shotgun and waking everybody up. Not that I really care, but so I ended up going to my normal spot there on my house tank with my dog, which was a lot of fun. And we ended up doing pretty well. Once again, right at shooting light, I have my. Oh no! You know what? Hold on. I'm sorry. God, dude, I totally forgot. Back up.
Whoa.
I'm sorry. Back up to Tuesday. No.
Yeah.
Back up to Tuesday morning. So I totally forgot. So I got my gadwalls out there dead in the tank. Right. All right. So I put my waders on. Now I've got hip waders. Now I've got a wading jacket. So that's a key point. I have hip waders, not the full waders. I do have full waders, but I never bring them out because they're very heavy and they're hot.
Is that the only reason?
Well, that's true. No, they actually fit. They actually probably fit better than no, just much.
It doesn't have anything to do with Sunkist either.
Yeah, no. Oh, yeah. No, we cleaned that one out. But I ended up, getting those ducks. Thankfully, the wind kind of blew them a little bit towards the shore, so I start making my way out in those tanks. And with the real clay bottom, you've got to be very careful, especially if we don't have a dog. And I didn't bring my dog because she's 11 years old tomorrow, so she's a little fragile. So I like to take her, where the ground is relatively even. I don't want her getting hurt. So I went out there and I fetched those ducks, and let me tell you, I was exhausted because that clay sticks to you, and it's one of these deals. It's kind of like quicksand. You put your left foot down, and then you go to take a step with your right. Well, as you go to take a step with your right, you're kind of doing a plunging effect with your left, and so what do? You end up sinking. And so I was able to retrieve my ducks successfully. Which was obviously awesome. I was whooped. I was sweating because it was not easy. And of course, I'm holding these dead animals, trying not to rip them in half. And I end up getting back to shore, and now it's time to get my decoys. Well, I have a little device called I think it's like a decoy retriever stick. This thing reaches out like 20 feet, and I think we've got it on our website. If you want to take a look at it. I think every duck hunter, especially ones who hunt in the tank situation like this in Texas, has got to have one of these, because this retriever stick, allows you to reach out there and really grab these decoys. Okay. Well, I used that. Fantastic. Put my decoys on shore. Okay. Got them clipped up. Well, I have one gadwall drake decoy that was out there. And I used my stick, and I had just thrown it just beyond. I'm like, God, you idiot. Why did you throw it that far? It's a relatively new decoy. So I'm like, all right, okay, the stick's not getting it. Let me wade in there and just see if I can, try to get close to it. So I'm looking at the mud below me. I'm thinking, all right, at least if I can find a rock or something to withstand my 300 pounds. So I go in there, and I'm getting pretty close. Well, the whole plunging effect happens to me, but this time I'm stuck. I am stuck. And so I'm like, all right, well, that decoy is going to be there for quite some time now. So at this point, it's a survival thing. Okay. Now, obviously I told my dad, I told my family where I was going. So if I didn't come back with an X amount of time, they would know. Also have my cell phone in my wading jacket, in the chest pocket sealed. That's important because I have dunked my phone before. But I was stuck. And again, I'm in hip waders, and I'm up to about knee-high water. So it's not a good thing, So I ended up throwing that little stick kind of on shore. And I'm only, a couple of feet from shore. And literally, it's not fun, but what you got to do is you got to sit down. So I pull my waders up, as far as I can, probably just above my belly button, and I basically extend my right hand out, and I'm almost kind of like doing a pivot motion, and of course, you got that icy water, is hitting my waders and hitting my stomach.
Yeah,
and all that, but I was able to get out, and then I was able to roll out of it and then crawl up to shore. So I didn't get as wet as I have in the past, but man, that's a real thing. You've really got to be careful. And of course, I told my father that, and he's, oh God, you could have died. I'm like, yeah, I know. But then, of course, I came back with something. Well, if I would have died, I would have died in the place that I love. I was like, don't say that, and then you know.
Right.
Anyway, so that's an important part to mention. So, all right, fast forward to Wednesday morning.
Well, I remember another time, just real quick.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Remember that time where it was a lot colder too. Then it was freezing,
and my waders actually got stuck. Yeah. And I had to walk back. Yeah, I had to walk back in my shorts and then my socks along a trail to get to the vehicle, and that was like a hypothermia type situation.
Yeah,
I felt like Gus McCrae on Lonesome Dove when he's walking on the prairie, And anyway, that was scary, dude. Yeah. So
I guess the moral of the story is if you do it enough, it'll probably happen. At least
once. Yes, definitely. Oh yeah, and almost happened to me again. Almost happened to me again Thursday morning, but I avoided that. So Wednesday morning. Again, lots of ducks in town. Got a great setup, not too far from it. Again, kind of in a cove. I got 12 decoys out there, and I'm right on clockwork. I have a group of like 4 gadwalls decoy perfectly, and I'm sitting there watching my iPhone, and my dog is, if she's about to bust, I'm like, oh my god, this place is about to go crazy. And I look at my phone, and I'm like sitting here looking at it down my chest, and here we go, shooting light, and I raise my gun, and my dog looks up at the gun, like, whoa, 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 3 shots, and of course, I did skillet shot him, okay, hey, I cannot lie, and sure enough, I got 4 dead ducks right there, so they're all gadwalls, I knew what they were, so that was pumped, and of course, Scarlett goes out there, just feathers and muck everywhere, and she brings them back, and when she brings them back, I ended up making sure everything was good to get her calmed down. All right. And then, got a couple more ducks come in, actually a teal come in, ended up missing him, which I had no idea how that happened because he was really close. But, towards the end, my dad ends up leaving. And if you've seen the Rancho Bandito, the road, the road that goes by the tank dam. So when he was on the tank dam going out to get the newspaper, this is probably 7:30 at this time, he scared up a whole bunch of ducks. A whole bunch. And they all flew right toward me. So I'm like, oh, dude, here we go. And I had a group of some 2 mallards, and you can just tell mallards if you've done it long enough from all the other ducks up above me. And this thing they are way up. There's 35,000-foot bird. And I end up taking a shot, first bird, boom, folded him. It's a big old drake. Nice. And, of course, he lands behind me. Moreover, that he not only does he land behind me, but he kind of sails and lands behind me. So I'm like, oh, God, here we go. So that was duck number 5. And so I end up reloading. I got my gun. And this is why you get a bird dog, right? And, of course, my bird dog, of course, everybody's partial to their dog, but she's phenomenal. She's found billions of ducks, billions of doves. She's got a great nose. She knows what she's doing. It's just fun to watch her work. Now, she's older now, and her nose isn't what it used to be. So we looked for frickin' 30 minutes. I took her in and out of, cactus thickets, which she doesn't care, by the way. That's how dedicated she is. And took her in, these big clumps of cedar tree. We just could not find that duck. Went back later that day, still could not find that duck. So, they're really hardy critters. And even though it looked like I folded him rather, I guess he got up and walked away. It's happened before. It'll happen again. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. So, with that being said, I probably could have, finished out of the limit, but I said, and I'm done. I'm not even going to worry about it. And I packed up my stuff and went in.
Hey, hold on one quick moment. Hey folks, have you ever wished that there was an easier way to find the hunting feeds, supplies, and services you need, when and where you need them? If so, check out our hunter search at feedbandit.com, where you can see what hunting suppliers are in your area or are on the way to your land. Don't waste any more precious time searching Google or calling around for feed, blinds, feeders, or even outfitters. Just use our targeted search for hunters, the Feed Bandit Hunter Search, over at feedbandit.com. We'll find your feed.
That night, Wednesday night, again, cold and cloudy. Again, just the weather was phenomenal, as I think you mentioned. I ended up, again, trying to maybe do something that I have not yet done, and really taking my own advice. And I said, you know what? The feeder activity's been pretty poor, okay? And I just think I really want to try to get out. I want to have a good shooting area where maybe I can catch some deer in some transition, So we've got a big power line easement that's kept open by this power company, thankfully not during deer season. But because of the trucks that roll through there, again, like every 6 months, whatever, they clear it out and they make it really nice. And you know where I'm talking about. So,
oh, yeah.
We've got a little open air tripod, and it's really not even a tripod. It's an old school, I kind of call it the South Texas deer stand. It's like 10 foot, and it's probably like a 4x4 little box. Okay,
yeah, it's a quad pod.
Yeah. It's basically the old school blinds, except it doesn't have any of the wood on it. So what we decided to do is, there was this guy who lived next to our ranch hand who had like 3 of these things out there. And he was selling them for like $50 a piece. So my ranch hand, being the guy that he is, he ended up welding some shooting rests on there, and put a new ladder on there, and put a little tin roof on there, and we just cover it in some burlap. And so that really helps us, obviously keep concealed, but it's not like a full-blown blind, and they're really easy to move. So anyways, we end up putting along these easements and just some travel areas, because we've always said, if the deer are not hitting the feeders, what better way than get out of the blinds, try to sit on the area where they're going to be going to, from A to B, from bedding to food or whatever. So that's what I did, and I ended up paying dividends. So I got up there, and again, it's just fun to be in nature. The wind was perfect; it was in my face, and I guess probably an hour before dark, I had a doe and a fawn pop out right in front of me, and I was not ready. Because I was sitting across the creek, probably about 800 yards from a feeder. So I was watching of course, there were some deer at this feeder and some turkeys, so I was kind of watching them and not watching right in front of me. But this doe and a fawn popped out, and they ended up kind of feeding off to my left. Well, right at dark, I had another doe come out, and this doe was just super spooky, and she was looking up at me. And although nobody's hunting this blind forever, it's almost like she could tell I was there, But
Right.
but I know she couldn't, because I could see her from when she first popped out. Anyways, she got broadside. I gave her another good look, and ended up nailing her right in the neck. And she ended up being about 130 pounds, 4.5-year-old doe, just perfect.
Nice.
Didn't have a fawn either. So that was nice to get her down. And it was funny, as I was climbing down out of the blind, so I got my gun on my shoulder and all that, and my pack on. I look, and here comes 2 bucks down that same kind of that draw area, and they weren't shooters, but boy, it could have been. If they were, it could have been a real bloodbath. But
so were you ready when she stepped out? You said you weren't ready when the other one was.
Yes,
so how did you get ready?
Yes, I was.
She's staring at you.
Yeah, I was more ready this time, which is not a word. I had my headphones on, and I had my gun kind of up to where I just had to literally mount the gun on my shoulder and fire. So, and I really wasn't expecting to shoot. And of course, me being me, I had the shakes. Oh yeah. And it's like, do I really want to do this? I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. So I pulled the trigger, and you guys are so proud. Yeah.
About time.
Yeah. So it was crazy. We go back to the cleaning station. I'm like, hey, where are all the guys? Where's the music? And so it was me and the cat. and you'll be happy I fed her a lot of meat.
Good deal.
And she was all over my wife, and she's like, oh, get away, gross. I'm like, oh, she loves you. And it was funny. She was wearing black pants, Jimmy, and it was unbelievable the amount of dirt that was on her pants from that cat. It was pretty humorous. So, so that was Wednesday night. So Thursday morning, I said, again, I'm going to go somewhere, again, where I've not duck hunted before. So on the front of Rancho Bandito, kind of the high fenced area, we have a tank, and it holds some ducks, but the tank behind it that feeds it has always been a real duck hotspot. And 2 days before that, we were driving around. I went over there and scouted it with my girls. And there was probably 50 ducks on it. And we're talking about 50 ducks on a, 30 by 30 tank. This is not big. But it's hidden, it's kind of out of the way, it's quiet, and then that's what they really like, and they're all puddle ducks. So I end up going to that tank, and this one again is much smaller than where the frack tank, okay? And it's really guarded by a lot of old cedar trees. And what's even better about it is that the cows over the years have come in there, they've made paths through it. So it is ugly. It is bad news for ducks. I mean, bad news, because they cannot swoop in. They've got to drop in. And so good Lord did they. So I got my decoys along the bank, okay? And again, I'm still covered in dry mud from my frack tank experience. So I put the decoys just off the bank, and it's pretty deep, so which is great. So my strings are not hanging out. But the decoys along the bank. I got my dog, and shooting light comes, and here they come. They're just dropping in, beep 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 beep. Their wings are whistling. I'm thinking, oh God, Scarlett's kind of. Well, she breaks. You're right, shooting light, and she's basically lost her hearing, from all the shotguns and just the years. She runs down there like a total,
right?
You know what? And I'm like, what are you doing? So I'm screaming at her, and I think I've got some video. Yeah, I mean, it reminded me when she was a pup. Oh my God! Finally got Ding Dong back up there with me. And then boy, that was it. It was ugly. It was so much fun. Birds just falling in and just nailing them before they even hit the water. And boy, we limited it out pretty quick. Nice. Yeah. So that was just a real treat. All gadwalls, which are just probably the second biggest puddle duck to mallards. So I think I ended up shooting 5 drakes and 1 hen. So
wow,
it was great. And then Thanksgiving evening, I didn't end up going out. I just had
ate too much.
Oh, well, now it's funny. I really didn't. But I just didn't feel like getting in the blind because I get warm, toasty, and I fall asleep. I actually ended up driving around, and it was funny. Our neighbor who's got the big tank next to us. I was driving along kind of our fence, and again, it was getting towards dark, and I looked out there with my binoculars, kind of near his house, if you know where I mean. Mm-hmm. And there's a massive oak tree. I'm like, what is all that? And I just see some dots out there. Well, there was like 30 deer out there,
really?
just eating. Yeah, just eating out there. He had, I guess a lot of his forbs and stuff had come up, so it was kind of cool to watch them. God, there were some does out there, Jimmy. That
I bet.
Oh, they were huge. I mean, I'm 1,000 yards away from them, and I can look at them and say, "Oh yeah, that's a shooter deer."
Oh sure. Man.
Mm-hmm. Huh. So it was the best Thanksgiving as far as hunting is concerned I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. So we got a couple. I guess 2 more months of duck hunting and deer hunting, and then it's back to the off season. But yeah, it's been fun so far.
Well, I think when we end up talking about next year, ahead of hunting season, and we start talking about duck hunting and whatnot, it won't be like this year when you're like you'll be at least be like, oh yeah, last year was great.
Oh yeah.
You'll be singing a different tune.
Oh no, for sure. And I'll tell you the difference is Again, I always say it's the double edged, bittersweet, whatever you want to call it. But last year we had so much water. All the tanks were full, and so the ducks had so much real estate. And that was a real problem. And looking back on it now, instead of just hunting the same frickin' place over and over again, I should have thought outside the tank and hunted some of these other little places.
Right.
That's what I really should have done. But honestly, I was just so bummed and just so, pouty, which you know how I get when it comes to that. Yeah. I just no, I'm not
a little female dog there.
Yeah, take that, Bucks. You're not invited to my birthday party. So. Yeah.
Well, I think I could speak for the rest of us, your hunting group here, and say we're very proud that you pulled the trigger on that deer.
Oh, I know. Yeah, believe me, I thought to myself, they're gonna put gold stars on my fridge paper today. I'm so pumped. Yeah, so funny enough, she's actually currently chopped up and sitting in my cooler, and your cooler, by the way. Yeah. I took your meat cooler up, and which is just awesome, by the way, because it's got the handle on it,
Yep.
So it's sitting in my garage, bleeding out as we speak. It was actually kind of funny. I guess it was the day before last night was my first time to bleed her out since Sunday. And so I'm out there, not looking so good, and in my shorts and cut off shirt, and one of my neighbors drives by in a Lexus, and I'm sitting there holding this cooler out with blood coming out of it. I'm kind of like, oh my God, our redneck neighbors are at it again.
Oh, that's funny. I could
Merry
picture
Christmas.
that.
You know what's full. Yeah.
That's funny. Well, awesome. Congratulations. I hope everyone out there listening, if you're able to go out hunting, hopefully y'all had some good success as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you did, we'd love to see any pictures about them.
Yes.
Send them along. You can send them to our Instagram at FeedBandit, or just email them, howdy@feedbandit.com, or Facebook at FeedBandit as well. Yes. We'd love to see them. You got anything else on this one?
That is about it, my friend. I think I'm good.
All right, cool. All right, folks. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. So until then, take care. Thanks for listening to the Feed Bandit podcast. Just a reminder to text the word bandit to 345-345. And when you do, you'll join our email list, where we'll send killer deals on innovative hunting products and services, along with entertaining tips and tricks, straight to your inbox. You don't want to miss out, so again, text the word bandit to 345-345, and we look forward to seeing you on the hunt. Until next time, have a good one, and remember to support your local feed store.